Hey there, Joanna Lockhart here with the National Real Estate Post and Mortgage Shots. I have our very good friend here, TonyRay Baker from RE/MAX Professionals in Tucson, Arizona. Super hot market right now. All right, so TonyRay, you are here to discuss this new buyer-broker agreement, which is not new, as you will explain. So I know, everybody's talked it to death, but I want your opinion because this is something you've always done throughout your career. And, I think when I came to you and said, hey, TonyRay, what do you think is going to happen when this change takes effect in July? Your response was like, well, nothing. I've never represented a buyer without a buyer-broker agreement. So why don't you tell me the history of the buyer-broker agreement as you see it?
Oh, I wish I knew when it started. I don't remember the exact date of the buyer-broker agreement, but I do remember that the manager at our brokerage firm came to us kids and said, this is the new state form. You're all going to have to use this. This is going to be, you're not going to not use it. So you guys got to understand it and you got to, get out there and get these signed. And by the way, we're not paying you if you don't give us that form. It's one of those documents you have to submit or you don't get paid until you get it done. So that was kind of, kicking the butt. We were going to get it done. Of course, what happened is no one required them, which is very amazing to me because in the meantime, we went forward and we used them with every single client we ever worked with over I don't know, how long has that been? In effect, 20 years? I don't know.
Well, you've been around for 20 years, so.
I don't know how long that buyer's broker agreement's been out there. And back in the day, we because of that, we immediately, a lot of people jumped onto ABR and learning buyer's representation. And there was a lot of scuttle around the East Coast versus the West Coast and how they were already using buyer's representatives and they wanted a division and that stuff was happening anyways. So it's always been around. But I think what happened was, so to pedal backwards even further, when I started 30 years ago, we would meet you, the buyer, at our office. But we met that client and we sat them down and we went over an hour consultation with them about what was going to happen and how we were going to help them through every step of the way. And we were, going to handle things as we go and how the process worked and all of the different things they needed to know about expenses, how to get a loan, all that stuff. We met at an office and we chatted about that. And I'll remind you, back in the 90s, when I started in real estate, we didn't have fax machines, pagers, cell phones, and we did not have internet. So these buyers needed massive amounts of help because they really needed an advocate on their side to get them through this process, right?
Which I think they still need an advocate, but what they have access to now is more information. And sometimes more information can be just enough to be a little dangerous.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Now, who do you trust? So now they're in the exact opposite. They've got tons of data flowing at them and tons of availability, but who do you trust? Because it's a lot of it canned, it's not even correct, and they don't know if that's the right data for the state they're buying in, and there's just so much crap out there. So I think we have overwhelm, right? So I think what I'm excited about is we're going to take that back. We're going to take our clients back to the office. And shame on all of us for not doing that and giving that reverence in the first place. But what I think happened was we saw a very fast-paced buyer's market hitting for a while there. And as internet came and we made things more efficient, then we also made things easier for buyers to just click and sign and never read the documents, right?
And the documents get longer and longer and longer by the minute.
I'm just click. I'm so busy right now. I trust you. Click, 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 click. Wait, what do you mean I didn't do this or I was supposed to do that? They don't read them. And real estate agents, of course, trying to accommodate that, we didn't demand, hey, no, slow down. This is a huge investment and you can make big mistakes that can cost you a lot of money. So we do need to talk about it. Now, my group, of course, we are very clear on talking about it. That's one of the things we do instead of the office meeting is we do a 3-hour tour of the city, which you've been on. And we do that tour because 1, we want them to see the city, but 2, that's 3 hours of consultation time in their when they arrive. So we've been doing
what an exciting way to do it.
right? Not in the office, very casual. And we go over these things with them. So we're going to take it back to the office, or since we do a ton of relocation, we work with a lot of agents around the United States who refer their clients to us. So that's a different client. And so we're going to have the same reverence of that meeting in a Zoom meeting and get them through the process. And then I'm working on a whole bunch of different things to, that will show value. So any buyer's agent that works on our team will be able to show value and why that buyer's broker is offered and why they should demand that we sign it. Buyers should have been demanding that we sign this document.
Sure.
Okay,
so you've been doing that. You've been using buyer broker agreements for 30 years. What, if any, pushback have you seen from buyers? And have you seen that change over 30 years as they've gotten more information? Was it standard fare before, and it's something that you have to explain further as time has gone on?
And maybe we've had one or two people that have ever questioned the buyer's agreement. And when someone questions the buyer agreement, it tells me right then we have not proven our value and trust level. So that tells me we need to stop, slow down, and get back into that conversation. So ironically, the one was recent, and we were working with an online companies that doesn't see the house. They were actually one of those online companies that just were sued for a lot of money, or somebody found them guilty because they were taking all the seller's money. Well, they put a house on the market and they offered a commission that was not the same as the agreement we had signed with the buyer. So when we went to, of course, the buyer liked the house, wanted to write an offer. And Darren said, hey, we have an agreement for this price for the professional fees that we charge, and this is what we get paid. And you agreed to that. And that is not the same as the offered brokerage fee. So how would you like me to get that payment taken care of to us? Would you like me to negotiate that in your costs, or do you want to pay that up front? He gave our client options. Now, the interesting thing is that the client's sister was there, and she was trying to protect her client at all costs, or her sister at all costs. And she thought she was doing a good job at that, but she was it was quite crazy through the entire process because sometimes she wasn't helping her. And she started screaming at Darren that you should cover this and you should discount and blah, 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 blah. And Darren just looked at her and said point blank, look, this is my fee. This is not what I make. This is what we charge.
Sure.
I have business expenses and I am worth every penny of this, and I'm negotiating on your behalf. So do you want to keep me hired or not? And if you don't, let's find you somebody that'll work that maybe doesn't have experience, and I'll, get you through this process. And the buyer sister looked at the other one and just ixnayed her, said, shut up. I only want him representing me. You figure out, I don't care what it is, I want you paid. So Darren negotiated the rest of the professional brokerage fee into the costs and got an accepted offer from that company, by the way. I'll throw this in. Just remember that as a seller's agent, any agent that's watching this right now, if they've gone to a listing appointment, they took a pamphlet, a trifold, a pretty book, a binder full of stuff nobody wants to read. We've taken presentation materials, right?
Sure.
And we've gone there knowing we might be in competition with 1, 2, or 3 other agents. And we've gone there prepared with information. We've done our homework. We know how much that house is worth, what the range is, how to market it, what we're going to offer, how we're different from everybody else. We really treat a listing appointment with respect and reverence. We really go in because we're competing. We don't do that with buyers. What happened?
Sure.
Why aren't we presenting them with that same trifold, a book, a binder? Why aren't we presenting them with all of the things we're going to do and all the processes and explaining to them why aren't we doing this? I mean, seriously, we're in competition. If they're not signing your buyer's broker, there's another agent in the top of their mind.
Of course.
Well, maybe I should hire Susie. She got her license yesterday and she was washing my hair and told me she's a great agent.
So TonyRay, what are we going to do with these VA borrowers? Where do you see that landing?
Well, so remember, the new rules are not that that the seller is they can't restrict a seller from paying brokerage fees.
No,
That's
what's
the constitutional right of the seller. They can't
What's restricted, though, is that the VA borrower cannot pay the agent commission.
Correct. But also what is restricted, they can't show the brokerage fee in the MLS.
Right.
Still exists. We're just going to negotiate it a different way from the beginning. If you're going to offer VA as a listing agent, you're going to have had that conversation with the seller, right? First of all, every great listing agent out there, and I know a lot of really good listing agents, they already have had these conversations every time with the seller. Here's how they get paid. Here's how the buyer's agent gets paid. Here's these things that the buyer's agent does that benefits the buyer and you. So why would anything be different? All you're doing is having the same conversation. Now, in the listing contract for the state of Arizona, our listing contract has for a very, very long time shown the professional fee offered to the listing broker and the professional fee offered to the buyer's broker. And it's always been in there. What's different?
I guess my concern with it is that it's already hard for a VA borrower to get into a property. It's already harder, and it always has been. And so now, if we are shrinking that pool of homes in any way by sellers, ill-advised as it may be, not offering any commission, I mean, it just takes more properties off the market for our poor VA borrowers.
I know. I will tell you that they need to go backwards, and this is not an issue of buyer's agency. It never has been. VA and FHA are struggling. If you look at the stats, I think recently I was looking at 70%, according to NAR stats, over 70% of the homes were purchased by conventional now. Cash is still right around 30%, and FHA and VA are struggling. But this is not agency, and this is bureaucracy, and I'll tell you why. These VA, for example, these rules around appraisal, they are harming the first-time home buyers and the veterans. Whoever wrote these rules did not understand the harm that would end to the up in the end, right? So I have an FHA buyer. They want to write an offer on a property. I represent the seller. FHA appraiser comes out. She's with a really bad lending company. So she's the worst of the worst because she can't get a job in the good appraisal management companies. She's not allowed in those AMCs. So she's with the crappiest lending company you can find. And the buyer chose them because Susie washed her hair yesterday. So now Susie, the mortgage person, gets the loan. Well, as soon as that appraisal comes through, that appraiser didn't do their job, right? They didn't look at the comps. They didn't call the real estate agents. They didn't verify the features. I just had this happen and gave an appraisal $30,000 less than the actual price that it should have been given. Okay. FHA says you have to attach that appraisal now to the seller's property, harming the seller.
Yes.
And you can dispute it. We asked the appraiser to look at the upgrades, the 70,000 in upgrades, and we asked the appraiser to look at the comps and call the agents who just sold the other houses down the street just like it for more.
Sure.
The appraiser refused to do anything, left it sitting. She was going on vacation. She didn't have time. So she left us with a bad appraisal, screwed the seller. Now, no FHA buyer can buy that house because that seller's not coming down $30,000. So shame on FHA and all of these rules because these are not agency issues. These are bureaucracy issues. These are made by a bunch of people smoking cigars, drinking bourbon, who don't know anything about selling real estate and what that buyer goes through.
I'm glad it came out of your mouth because I couldn't have spit it out so coherently, but that is exactly what I think too.
That's what's going on. And so your FHA, VA buyers, I don't see hope for them for a very long time. Because unless somebody in that arena figures out how much they've harmed everyone, they've harmed the sellers. As far as I'm concerned, the sellers should have the right to sue them over this. That's what they should have. Because this is crap. And these first-time home buyers, they can't afford to go round two. They just blew $1,000, $1,500 on appraisals and inspections that they're getting charged for, and they lose their house. This is nuts.
It is nuts.
Not agency. So this is not an issue. So I think as much as we want to help our vets, they should stand up and start demanding help from the other side because then it'll fix itself.
Agreed. They're going to have to change something with this rule. Just like Fannie and Freddie have come in and changed their seller concession rules.
I'll tell you too, bad VA. I've had 3 bad VAs. We don't accept them I tell all my clients not to accept them anymore because when they come in with bad lenders or banks with tellers who don't have great AMCs. Look, all the top appraisers in any city work for the best mortgage companies, the top number ones, the ones that are really professional. The AMCs hire them and they keep them so busy they're not taking the scraps, right? So the banks with tellers that are trying to get into loans again, they're stuck with the scrap appraisers. Those appraisers are horrible. Not all of them. I'm sure there's one out there that deserves a good, but I'm just saying. So they tend to, I can't tell you how many times we've seen them go, Tidewater. I'm like, excuse me, you didn't go to the house. Well, I already looked at the paperwork and it's just not going to clear. I've had this happen.
It's
right?
so sad that they've got like the keys to these people's future in their hands. I will say this. I will throw out a little appraiser love for you appraisers out there. I am the child of 2 appraisers, so I know there's some good ones. So
we have great appraisers who I know their names. And if I see their names on anything, I'm like, oh, thank God, right?
Of course.
Hey, there's some really good appraisers, but I'm telling you, they're taken and they're so busy because they're taken by the top AMCs. That really
makes sense.
Makes sure they have the best. So this FHA VA issue, they'll probably come up with something where VA says, oh, it can be the same or whatever they want to do. It's still not going to fix it. I think we'll still see the decline of FHA and VA until the bureaucracy is fixed, that they get in there and change it. So,
or until they don't, and we just don't have any first-time home buyers anymore.
Right. It's really crazy. And affordability and that argument keeps going up.
I don't even know that they should refer to it as affordability. It's so far outside of any scope that fits into that. We need a whole new term.
Yeah, it's just a component.
All right. With all of that said, TonyRay, and I know we went on a little VA FHA tangent, which all of my realtor friends will attest has been my tangent for the last.
It's a hot topic, though. Every realtor's out there wondering about FHA and VA, and you got to get the facts straight. This is not an agency issue. This is not a compensation issue.
Of course, it's not a compensation issue. It's an extra challenge.
A little bit of a new way. It's the new way of doing things.
The next thing I wanted to ask you, or the last question I really had is, do you think there will be a change in the way that agents hold open houses or are interacting with potential borrowers that come in unrepresented who have not already signed a buyer broker agreement? Does that change the way that you're going to have to deal with those potential buyers?
Okay, so be very clear on this. You are as an agent doing an open house, you are required, which most agents don't do. You are required to tell that buyer walking in the door that you represent the seller. Have you seen that going on in the last 20 years? Because I haven't. And I'll tell you what, you represent the seller and that buyer instantly starts creating agency when you open your mouth. You need to tell them, hi, welcome in. I represent the seller. So you got to tell them. There's nothing different there. Now, I represent the seller. You are unrepresented. Do you see that at new construction sites? I don't see it. They should be telling every single person at an open house or at a new construction site at the model home, hey, welcome in. We represent the seller. Our fiduciaries to the seller. Don't say anything to me. My fiduciaries to the seller. Go check out the house, right? They can do that and they're supposed to. So I think we have an issue there where again, as a community, we need to step up and make sure buyers are clear. And then if a buyer wants to write a buyer's broker and hire an agent, don't forget that they could do that for one property or 30 days. They could do it for different, would you like me to show you some other properties today or tomorrow? I can do that. We can sign a buyer's agency. I'll give you one for one day. I'll offer that to you to be your fiduciary for the day. That starts a relationship. So there's ways there's ways to do this properly. We're not doing it. We just need to get better. I think this is going to make so many agents, you're either going to rise to the top and be in the best, or you're going to say, this is too tough and complicated, and I'm going to go find a job somewhere else. And that's okay, because it is not for everybody. And I think NAR just said 60-70% of all of our population of agents came in the last few years. So you've got a lot of people out there that just really aren't making money and they need to be doing something else. And it's, and good for all of us. We need to raise our profession. And if you're going to raise a profession, show these folks your value. Bring them back to the office or on a Zoom call, do a PowerPoint, write a book, give them bomb videos, do checklist sheets. There's so many things you can do to show them all the things that you're going to do for them through the process. And that's a discussion that comes out. And the more you're talking in person with somebody, the more eye contact and teeth, eyeballs and teeth, that's everything to create trust. So I think we're going to just bring it all back, and then it's going to be fine for those who adapt.
I love it. I think everybody needs to hear those words. It's
all going to be fine.
But there is going to be adaptation taking place. And that is also the silver lining always of these markets is kind of the internal housekeeping that happens.
We need internal housekeeping. We were rising finally in our profession as being professionals, and people sought us out. And first time the FSBO market has declined over the many years. People see the value. 9 out of 10 buyers see the value of working with an agent according to the new surveys. Look, we've been doing a great job at raising the profession, and then COVID kind of killed it. And another thing is, look, if you want to blow glass in Murano, Italy, I think you have to be mentored for 20 years and you're not allowed to leave the island. There's all these really cool things, right?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on with real estate? Here, pass a test.
That's such a good point. Yeah. For something that has no impact on anybody's life versus the thing that has every bit of impact on your life. I mean, it's
right.
Your real estate investments are for most people, the only thing to worry about.
I think it's all going to work itself out, and there's it's just the way it's supposed to be. We need to get back to basics with this, and good for you to have to show you. But I know, I've been going through the 1,000 actions that we take, so I have a CRM, and it tells my assistant or my buyer's agent or me every single day, this is every action we take for every buyer or every seller. So we launch the action, and the calendar starts populating with everything we're going to do to make sure they're treated the same as every other client, no matter what price or who they are. It's always they're treated the same. And these are all our to-dos. These are all the action items we're going to do through that process. There's 1,000 of them in this system. I didn't even realize we have that many, but this is the stuff we do every day. I've just told my team, I'm like, we're going to strip the actions right out of there, copy them all out, and we're going to look at all those actions, and then we're going to turn that into a worksheet and show every client, here's what we are possibly going to go through with you throughout the next couple months, and we're going to check them off as we go. And some of these won't apply because you won't have a septic tank or a well on your property. Sure. So we won't check those off. But I want you to be prepared. So go ahead and read this because this is what we're going to be going through. And if you have questions prior, let's chat about it. So most of the agents out there probably that have been doing business for any length of time already have this kind of, we have our actions, what we're doing regularly, right?
I would love to believe that to be right.
You can't do 5 transactions a month. You can't do 5 transactions a month unless you are systematized. You just can't. You have to have systems. So, that comes with growing and experience and being, dedicated to this profession. That's really what it comes with.
I can't think of a better way to wrap that up. That's what we need is professionals who are dedicated to the profession. And then you're right. It will all work out.
It'll all work out.
TonyRay, thank you so much. I got to say this for anybody still listening to us. If you are in the Tucson area, you have to go check out TonyRay's Tucson Art Gallery. It is absolutely stunning. And it's a great atmosphere. It's a great way to spend an evening or an hour.
Thank you for that plug. We were really excited to give that. It's a not-for-profit, so it's super exciting for us to give all the money back to these artists and the community. And it's been a cool project. So yes,
I love it.
If you need anything,
we'll throw the information up on the screen. So go check it out. I mean, it's a beautiful way to spend an afternoon and evening.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help. If somebody needs, I get calls all the time from agents around the United States. I'm happy to help answer questions. I'm here. So you can put my information up as well.
We will do that. Thank you, TonyRay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.